Hi guys, and welcome to Trucking Along with Kearsey. That's me, your positive voice in trucking. I want to know what you think about truck leasing task force that's in search of predatory leases. Okay, anybody's watched this channel, you know I don't like new people going into leasing. I think there's way too many risks that, it's very hard to learn how to run a trucking business while at the same time learning how to drive the truck, manage your clock, learn the expenses, and here at Prime, the lease contracts are like 50 to 70 pages long. Their pay settlements are like 18 to 20 pages long. They actually give us a list of codes. There's like 5 or 6 pages of codes to teach you how to read your settlement. So, add that into the fact that a lot of people don't even read their lease contracts. They just sign on the dotted line and then they get passed a bunch of hearsay information. My trainer told me he makes this much money. My trainer told me this is what will happen in an accident. And they're going all by, well, my friend this, my friend that I read on Facebook. And you know what? Get off the freaking Facebook and go look at your stinking contract. Then you'll know. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says that the truck leasing task force, say that 5 times real fast, will evaluate lease agreements in the industry and their potential safety and financial impacts on owner-operators. Okay, so we're going to have the government decide whether or not the contract is good. Potential safety and financial impacts. The financial impact is you should be able to get to decide what your financial impact, what your finances are. If you want to be a lease op, you want to be an owner op, okay, go for it. But at least know what you're getting into. That is my whole spiel when when I ask people, did you know about this clause? Did you know about this situation? Did you know about that situation? They sit there and tell me, no. Well, then you shouldn't be a owner op. You shouldn't be a lease op. You don't know what you're talking about. If you don't know the costs and you can't read your settlements and you have no understanding about anything, it's probably not a good idea. Sorry. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're predatory leases. It just means that you have to do research no matter what you do. You go to buy a house, you go to buy a car. You can't get screwed over if you don't allow yourself. Knowledge is power, so know what you're getting into. Ask questions, go to classes at Prime. As far as I know, those are the only company that actually forces you. It's mandatory to take classes where they teach you, which I sat there and tried to listen to it, and they even have it on our phone app so you can watch classes, but it was like the first hour I was falling asleep because it was really like Business 101. Okay, boys and girls, freight can be different and have different rates in different parts of the country. And you have a revenue and expenses, and then, you have profit. And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay. I think at one point it even said, this is a liability. This is a receivable. I'm like, okay. If you don't know all that, you shouldn't be doing this. The Truck Leasing Task Force will address areas that have long needed intense focus. It will be tasked with providing best practices to assist drivers in assessing the impacts of leasing agreement prior to entering into such agreement, and recommendations on changes to law to promote fair leasing agreement. Basically, the government's is saying that assist drivers in assessing the impacts of lease agreements. Hire a lawyer. So I don't trust the government when it comes to anything. I worked for the government for too stinking long. My whole family worked for the government for too stinking long. So I don't trust them. I don't want them to explain anything to me. Why don't you just read your own stinking contract? If you don't understand it, take it to a lawyer. I don't need the government to sit here and tell me how to read the contract. The task force work will contribute to the FMCSA's efforts to ensure that drivers have access to fair leasing agreements. if you go back and you look at what happened in California with AB5, AB5 essentially wound up eliminating leasing. Like, Prime wasn't the only company that turned around and said, if you're from California or New Jersey, you can be a company driver, but you cannot be an independent contractor running under Prime's authority. And that was the law. But now we have these guys sitting here saying, under the same administration, saying, well, we're going to help you become lease and have access to fair leasing agreements. But you just took that access away in California and New Jersey. So, at a time when our country needs truck drivers more than ever, really, we're like freaking oversaturated. We have too many trucks on the road, not enough loads. That's what everybody's griping about. Hello. We must do everything we can to support the men and women who work in this vital industry. The task force is taking a hard look at leasing agreements as part of our effort to ensure every truck driver in this country has good working conditions and can make a good living. Okay, so good working conditions. You are an independent contractor. Independent contractor. You get to choose to whom you sign on. Okay? And a lot of this that I read, it makes me wonder if they even understand the term leasing, because there's leasing a truck and there's leasing onto a company for the freight. There's different kinds of leases. There's a walkaway lease at Prime where, you know, you're basically renting the truck, you turn it in at the end, you walk away and you get another truck. You can buy that truck if you want. Then there's a lease purchase that you can put a down payment, you pay for your options, pick out the options you want and stuff, and at the end of 3 years, there's no balloon payment unless you want it. They actually have different price points, payments that you can do if you read the contracts. Again, like, I hear people talking all the time on YouTube where they don't even know what the heck they're talking about. They'll say, oh, Prime has a big balloon payment. No, it doesn't. It's $100 unless you want smaller weekly payments. Then you can have a balloon payment at the end, but that's because you're making more money throughout the first 3 to 4 years, depending on what contract you sign. I think flatbed does 4 years and reefer does 3, but I know somebody that was doing reefer and he took a 4-year one. It affects the payments, but you're in control and nobody can force you to sign the freaking contract. If anybody can force you to sign a freaking contract, then guess what? You shouldn't be an independent contractor owner-op, because you can be, like, manipulated too easily. And you're going to be a push-around wuss that's not going to stand up for yourself, so you're not going to make any money. Truck leasing is an important step that many owner-operators in the trucking industry take to get started in the business. Leases that contain terms that are inequitable to drivers may discourage safe drivers from continuing to work in the industry. Protecting drivers is of the utmost importance. Okay. Well, why don't you get us more parking? Okay. That would protect us and the public more. Why don't you stop chasing me out of way stations? How about that? A couple months ago, I was parked at a way station and I just wanted a nap for a couple hours, and it was in Virginia, and, you know, I think it was in Virginia. Maybe it's Ohio. I don't remember, but I was at the way station and this guy knocked on my door and he was like, 5 minutes right now, you move or you're getting a ticket. Don't even open your mouth. It's the only time I was actually ever chased from a way station, when I was sleeping. But parking is a much bigger problem in this country than predatory leasing, because predatory leasing, if you're not educating yourself enough to know whether or not that is a good contract, and you're not really researching company to company's leases and their contracts, whether it be the freight contract or the truck contract, then that's on you. Okay? That's on you. I've been here at Prime now for 8 years. Unfortunately, I know more about the leasing program and I've read the contract more than some of these guys that are on the that are independent contractors. I don't like this committee. Again, I don't trust the government anyway. But I kept trying to look for specific practices that they were saying was considered predatory. Now, one thing that it's talking about was involving a requirement for trucks to convert to zero emissions. Okay, that is something that I saw going on in California at one point, and it was years ago, where these owner-ops had older trucks that when the law in California changed, the companies that they were running for turned around and said, hey, we want you to get these newer trucks, you know, you can't run this older truck, blah, blah, blah. And then those guys wound up getting brand new trucks and having these truck payments that they didn't have before. And then when freight dropped, these guys that didn't have truck payments before and got brand new trucks because the law changed with the emissions, I don't think that has anything to do with the company they were running for. That has to do with the freaking state changing the emissions laws. So go check that out, Buttigieg. Studying the impact of truck leasing agreements on the net compensation of commercial drivers. Okay. Now, in other parts, they use compensation to also mean benefits. And something that people don't think about, when you are an independent contractor, because you are the boss, because you are the employer, and I talked about like overtime pay and stuff like that that they were trying to put in with the WOTAB, you know, it's like family medical leave. If you're an independent contractor and even you're running under Prime's authority, let's say, and your wife has cancer or your husband has cancer, whatever, your spouse has cancer, your parents are dying, whatever, okay, you try to take family medical leave, Prime's policy is you can only be out 59 days, okay, then you're terminated. As a company employee, you're entitled to Family Medical Leave Act, which would give you 3 whole months, which would give you 12 weeks. So you'd have an extra month of cushioning to allow you that situation. I had a friend one time that, you know, he asked me, who do I talk to about bereavement pay, because my father's dying and I wanted to see, you know, how Prime pays out bereavement pay. And this is going to sound nasty, I'm sorry, but he was somebody that like shoved in my face, you're just a company driver, blah, blah, blah. And I was this close to sending him his own phone number. Say, here's the guy you talk to about bereavement pay. You. Because you're your own employer. Study whether or not truck leasing agreements properly incentivize the safe operation of vehicles, including driver compliance with the hours of service, regulations, and laws governing speed and safety general. Okay, so let me see if I get this straight. A company and the lease agreement has to incentivize you to run legally. BS. BS, okay? It is your job to run legally, whether it's the maintaining the truck, doing your pre-trips and your maintenance, okay, whether it is complying with the hours of service laws. That was one thing that made me laugh about the ELDs when they came into effect, that all these owner-ops were just sitting there like complaining about, oh, we're not going to make any money. So you're admitting that for years you ran illegally. Hello. Financing arrangements among motor carriers, entry-level drivers, driver training providers, and others involved in the industry. Reviewing loans and other arrangements between incoming driver trainees and training schools. You know, I don't know. You tell me, do you think that they're going to actually do anything? Do you think anything's going to come of anything? And is there a certain company you went to and you felt like the lease was predatory? I know I saw in one of these articles it said that they don't like that you don't get a choice in the truck. Some of these companies, you just go in and you sign a lease and they just give you a truck. You don't get to pick it, which we don't have that here at Prime. Even as a company driver, if I told them, no, I'm not taking that truck, they're going to tell me, oh, well, you have to pay for your hotel tonight. Okay, big deal. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and I hope to see you out here trucking along. Bye.